My beloved child, God says, don't scroll. If this message found you today, it wasn't an accident. You may have cried yourself to sleep last night, quietly wiping your tears so nobody would know how deeply you were hurting. You may have smiled during the day while carrying a pain inside that you could not explain. You may have laid your head on your pillow and finally allowed everything you had been holding back to come out. And perhaps you whispered a question that nobody heard. When is this going to get better? My beloved child, I heard you. I saw every tear you tried to hide. I saw the moment you turned away from everyone because you did not have the strength to explain what was happening inside your heart. I saw the thoughts running through your mind when the room became quiet. I saw you wondering why people you trusted disappointed you, why someone you loved became distant, why something you prayed for still has not happened, and why you have had to be strong for so long. You thought nobody understood, but you were never alone. While you were crying, I was near you. While you were asking why, I was preparing an answer. And while you were wondering whether your life would ever change, something was already beginning to move behind the scenes. My child, the tears you cried last night were not weakness. They were the release of emotions you had carried for too long. You have been trying to hold everything together. You have been telling yourself to stay strong, to keep going, to trust, to be patient, even when your heart was exhausted. You have encouraged other people while secretly wishing someone would encourage you. You have listened to other people's problems while quietly carrying your own. You have been there for people who did not always show up for you. And last night, your heart finally reached its limit. But listen carefully, because I do not want you to misunderstand what happened. Your breaking point was not the end of your story. It may have been the beginning of your release. Sometimes I allow you to reach a place where you can no longer depend on your own strength because I am teaching you that you were never meant to carry everything alone. You have been asking me for a sign, and perhaps you expected something dramatic. You expected a door to suddenly open, a phone to ring, a person to return, or a problem to disappear overnight. But sometimes the first sign is not what happens outside you. Sometimes the first sign is what happens inside you. And something inside you is changing. You are becoming tired of accepting what hurts you. You are becoming tired of begging for attention. You are becoming tired of explaining your worth to people who should have recognized it without being asked. You are becoming tired of waiting for someone to give you the love, respect, honesty, and peace you deserve. My child, that exhaustion is not meaningless. It is teaching you discernment. It is teaching you that peace is more valuable than temporary attention. It is teaching you that not every person you lose is a loss. Some people leave because I am protecting the future you cannot see yet. You may be crying over someone today without realizing that I may be protecting you from years of pain tomorrow. You may be mourning a relationship, a friendship, an opportunity, or a version of your life that never happened. But I know what you do not know. I see the full picture. You only see the closed door. I see what is behind the door you were never meant to enter. You only see the person walking away. I see what their presence would have cost you if they had stayed. You only see the delay. I see what is being prepared during the delay. So breathe, my beloved child. You do not have to understand everything tonight. You do not have to solve your entire life today. You only need to take the next step. You only need to trust that your story is still being written. And there is something I want you to know about the person who hurt you. You may have spent hours wondering whether they ever cared. You may have looked at old messages, old photographs, or memories and asked yourself how someone could go from making you feel so important to making you feel invisible. You may have blamed yourself. You may have wondered what you did wrong. But stop carrying the responsibility for another person's inability to love you properly. Their behavior does not define your value. Their silence does not mean you were unworthy of an answer. Their distance does not mean you were not enough. Sometimes people walk away because they cannot handle what they feel. Sometimes they choose what is easier instead of what is deeper. Sometimes they recognize someone's value only after they no longer have access to them. But my child, do not spend your life waiting for someone else's realization. Your healing cannot depend on whether they return. Your peace cannot depend on whether they apologize. Your future cannot depend on whether someone finally understands what they lost. I want you to reach a place where you can say, even if they never return, I will still be okay. That is when your heart becomes free. And strangely enough, that may also be when the things you have been waiting for begin to shift. Because when desperation leaves, clarity arrives. When fear becomes quiet, discernment becomes louder. When you stop chasing, you begin seeing who is actually willing to walk toward you. My beloved child, there is a reason you are hearing this message after a difficult night. You need to know that your current emotions are not your permanent reality. This sadness has an expiration date. This chapter has an ending. The situation that feels impossible today will not always have the same power over you. 1 morning, you will wake up and realize that the thing that once made you cry no longer controls your heart. You will remember the nights when you thought you would never feel normal again. And you will realize that you survived every single one. You will look back and understand why certain doors closed. You will understand why certain people disappeared. You will understand why certain prayers took longer than you wanted. And you may even thank me for protecting you from things you once begged me to give you. But before that day comes, you may have to endure a little more uncertainty. And I know you are tired. I know. You have been waiting. You have been praying. You have been trying to believe. But waiting does not mean nothing is happening. Seeds grow underground before you ever see the plant. Your prayers can be working in places your eyes cannot reach. Hearts can change when you are not watching. Circumstances can shift when you have no evidence. Doors can be preparing to open while you are staring at a wall. Do not confuse silence with inactivity. There are things moving behind the scenes that you cannot yet see. And one of those things may involve the person you have been thinking about. They may be realizing things they never admitted before. They may be remembering moments with you. They may be questioning decisions they once felt certain about. They may be wondering whether you still care. They may be fighting the urge to reach out. But whether they return or not, I want your heart to be prepared for something better than simply getting a person back. I want you to receive clarity. Because sometimes you ask me to bring someone back when what you truly need is an answer. Sometimes you ask for a reunion when what your soul needs is closure. Sometimes you ask for a relationship when what you truly need is healing. And sometimes, my child, I give you all three in an order you did not expect. First I heal you. Then I reveal the truth. Then I show you what deserves a place in your future. So do not force the process. Do not send another message simply because you are lonely tonight. Do not chase someone because you are afraid they will forget you. Do not lower your standards because you are afraid of being alone. Being alone for a season is better than being surrounded by people who make you feel lonely. Let that truth settle inside your heart. You deserve someone who does not make you question whether you matter. You deserve communication instead of confusion. You deserve consistency instead of temporary attention. You deserve someone who chooses you without needing to lose you first. And if someone from your past returns, let their actions speak. Do not be hypnotized by words. Listen, but watch. A genuine apology will be followed by changed behavior. A genuine realization will be followed by effort. A genuine desire to rebuild will come with patience. You do not need to rush into anything simply because someone finally says what you have wanted to hear. Protect the peace you fought so hard to regain. My beloved child, I also want to speak about the tears themselves. You may have felt embarrassed for crying. You may have told yourself that you should be stronger. But tears are not proof that you are weak. Sometimes tears are proof that your heart has been strong for too long. You have survived things you never thought you would survive. You have endured conversations that broke you. You have experienced disappointments you never expected. You have had moments when you wanted to give up but somehow got out of bed the next morning. Look at you. You are still here. You are still breathing. You are still searching for hope. You are still listening to this message. That means something. There is still a part of you that believes tomorrow can be different. Protect that part. Feed it with hope. Do not allow one painful chapter to convince you that the entire book is tragic. Your story is not finished. And perhaps the biggest surprise is that your life may begin changing when you stop waiting for everything to change at once. Start with one small thing. Drink some water. Open the curtains. Step outside. Pray. Rest. Forgive yourself. Stop checking the phone every few minutes. Stop rereading conversations that only reopen wounds. Stop imagining conversations that may never happen. Give your mind permission to rest. You have been living too much inside yesterday and tomorrow. Come back to today. Today is where healing begins. My child, I know you want a sign that someone is coming back. I know you want proof that your prayers have been heard. I know. You want to know whether the person you love still thinks about you. But there is something even more important than knowing what someone else is thinking. You need to know what you are becoming. You are becoming stronger, more discerning, more emotionally mature, more protective of your peace, more aware of what you deserve. The version of you that cried last night will not be the same version of you that walks into your next chapter. Those tears are washing away an old attachment to what you cannot control. You are learning to release outcomes. You are learning to trust timing. You are learning that love should not require you to abandon yourself. And my beloved child, there may soon be a moment when you realize why the last season had to hurt. You may receive a message that gives you clarity. You may hear something you never expected. You may discover that someone who seemed distant was actually struggling with their own emotions. Or you may simply wake up one day and realize that you no longer need the answer. That is also a miracle. Because sometimes the greatest healing is not getting the explanation. It is reaching a point where the explanation no longer controls you. I want you to imagine yourself several months from now. Imagine waking up without that heaviness in your chest. Imagine checking your phone without fear. Imagine laughing again without forcing it. Imagine meeting people without comparing everyone to the person who hurt you. Imagine loving again without expecting abandonment. Imagine being able to think about your past without feeling trapped inside it. That future version of you is possible. You are moving toward that person one day at a time. So tonight, if the tears come again, do not be ashamed. Let them come, but do not let them convince you that you are hopeless. Cry if you need to. Pray if you need to. Rest if you need to. But tomorrow, get up. Wash your face. Take a breath. And keep moving. Your pain is real, but it is not your identity. Your heartbreak is real, but it is not your destiny. Your disappointment is real, but it is not the final chapter. My beloved child, I am not asking you to pretend that everything is okay. I am asking you to believe that everything can become okay. There is a difference. You can acknowledge your pain and still have hope. You can miss someone and still move forward. You can love someone and still choose yourself. You can forgive someone and still maintain boundaries. You can have faith while admitting that you are tired. I am not disappointed in you because you cried. I am not disappointed because you questioned me. I am not disappointed because you felt lost. I am closer to you in those moments than you realize. And if you could see what I see, you would understand why I keep telling you not to give up. There are chapters ahead that your current pain cannot imagine. There are conversations you have not had. There are people you have not met. There are opportunities you have not discovered. There are mornings you have not woken up to yet. There are reasons you will smile again. And one day, you will understand that the night you cried yourself to sleep was not the night your story ended. It was the night your heart finally released what it could no longer carry. So wipe your tears, my child. Not because your pain was meaningless, but because you have carried it long enough. Take back your peace. Take back your energy. Take back your hope. Stop allowing someone else's absence to become the center of your life. If they are meant to return, they will have to meet you in a healthier place. If they are not meant to return, something else will eventually show you why. Either way, you are not losing. You are being redirected toward clarity. And before you go, remember this one thing: the fact that you cried last night does not mean you are broken. It means you cared. It means you loved. It means you are human. But you will not cry forever. There will be a morning when you smile and realize you made it through. There will be a day when your heart feels lighter. There will be a moment when you understand that the person you were begging not to lose was never supposed to be more important than the person you were becoming. And when that moment comes, you will look back at this season differently. You will say, I thought I was being abandoned, but I was being redirected. I thought the door was closing on me, but another door was preparing to open. I thought the tears meant I was losing everything, but they were helping me release what I could not carry into my future. My beloved child, rest tonight knowing that you do not have to figure everything out right now. You are allowed to breathe. You are allowed to heal slowly. You are allowed to begin again. And if nobody told you today, let this message tell you, you matter. Your feelings matter. Your future matters. Your heart matters. The chapter you are in right now is not the whole story. Keep going. One day at a time. One breath at a time. One prayer at a time. The tears you cried in secret will not remain your story forever. Your next chapter can be softer, clearer, and more peaceful than the one you just survived. And when that day comes, you will finally understand why I kept telling you, do not give up. My beloved child, God says, there is something else you need to understand about the tears you cried last night. You thought you were simply having another painful night, but there was a deeper reason. Your emotions became so overwhelming. You had reached the point where your heart could no longer pretend that everything was fine. For so long, you have been saying, I'm okay, when you were not okay. You have been answering people with a smile while carrying questions inside that kept you awake at night. You have been acting strong because you did not want anyone to see how deeply certain situations affected you. But when the world became quiet, everything you had pushed down came back to the surface. And that is why the tears came. My child, you were not failing. You were releasing. There is a difference. You were releasing disappointment, fear, loneliness, memories, unanswered questions, and the exhaustion of constantly wondering what happens next. You were releasing the pressure of trying to understand people who never gave you clarity. You were releasing the pain of waiting for someone to say the words you needed to hear. And perhaps most importantly, you were releasing the version of yourself that believed you had to suffer silently to prove how much you cared. You do not have to suffer silently anymore. You do not have to carry everything alone. You do not have to keep reopening the same wound just because you are hoping someone else will finally give you closure. Sometimes closure begins when you decide that your peace is more important than another person's explanation. My beloved child, there is a person you may still be thinking about. You may wonder whether they noticed your absence. You may wonder whether they looked at their phone hoping to see your name. You may wonder whether they ever miss you as much as you miss them. And I know how badly you want an answer. But there is something I want you to remember. People can hide their emotions, but they cannot always escape them. Someone can stay busy. Someone can surround themselves with friends. Someone can pretend to be happy. Someone can even enter another relationship or begin a completely different chapter. But unresolved emotions have a way of returning when everything becomes quiet. Your absence may be teaching someone something your presence never could. When you were always available, they may not have understood your value. When you stopped chasing, they may have started noticing the silence. When you stopped explaining yourself, they may have started asking questions. And when you stopped giving them unlimited access to your heart, they may have realized that losing you was not as easy as they once imagined. But my Child, I do not want you to wait for their realization. I want you to keep moving. Because your healing should never depend on whether someone else finally understands what they did. If they return, let them return with honesty. If they apologize, let the apology be supported by changed behavior. If they say they miss you, let their actions show that they are willing to build something healthier. Do not accept temporary emotion as permanent transformation. You have already experienced enough confusion. You do not need more. You need clarity. And clarity may be coming. There is a reason certain things have felt unusually quiet lately. You may have expected something to happen by now. You may have expected a message, a phone call, a meeting, or some kind of sign. Instead, you received silence. And that silence may have hurt more than an argument would have. But silence can be a preparation room. It gives people time to confront themselves. It gives you time to hear your own heart without outside noise. And perhaps both you and the person you have been thinking about needed that distance. You needed to remember who you were before their attention became the center of your emotional world. They needed to understand what your absence actually felt like. This does not mean you should sit around waiting. It means you should use this season to become unavailable to confusion. My child, there is a version of you that is beginning to emerge. This version no longer begs for answers. This version no longer checks the phone every few minutes. This version no longer assumes that every small sign means someone is returning. This version understands that love should bring peace more often than panic. This version knows that being chosen should not feel like a competition. This version can miss someone without abandoning themselves. And I am leading you toward that version. You may not feel strong today, but strength is not always a feeling. Sometimes strength is simply getting through another day without giving up on yourself. Sometimes strength is deleting the message you wanted to send. Sometimes strength is refusing to check someone's profile. Sometimes strength is going to sleep instead of replaying the past until morning. Sometimes strength is saying, I still love them, but I love myself enough to stop chasing. That sentence may feel painful, but it can also become the beginning of your freedom. My beloved child, I want you to think about how much energy you have spent trying to predict another person's behavior. You have asked yourself, will they come back? When will they text? Do they still love me? Are they with someone else? Did they forget me? Was everything we shared real? These questions have been consuming your peace. But what if you stopped asking what they will do and started asking what you will do? What will you choose if they return? What will you choose if they do not? What kind of love will you accept? What boundaries will you have? What kind of life will you build? Those Questions put your power back into your own hands. You cannot control another person's choices, but you can control what you allow into your future. You can decide that confusion is no longer acceptable. You can decide that inconsistent affection is not enough. You can decide that you will not chase someone who only remembers you when they feel lonely. And you can decide that if someone wants a place in your life, they must show up with intention. My child, your heart has been through enough. You do not need another lesson disguised as love. You need a relationship where you can breathe. You need someone who communicates. Someone who does not disappear when things become difficult. Someone who does not make you question your worth. Someone who does not force you to decode every message. Someone who can look you in the eyes and tell you the truth. And if the person you have been thinking about can become that person, then there may be something worth rebuilding. But they must do the work. You cannot do it for them. You cannot heal them for them. You cannot force them to become emotionally ready. You can only protect your own heart while they decide what kind of person they want to be. There is another reason your tears may have come so strongly last night. You may have been grieving not only a person, but the future you imagined with them. You had created scenes in your mind. You imagined conversations, trips, mornings together, celebrations, a home, a family, or simply the comfort of knowing that someone would always be there. When reality did not match that picture, your heart had to grieve the difference. That grief is real. But listen carefully. Just because one version of your future did not happen does not mean your future is ruined. The future can surprise you. Sometimes the life you begged for would have been too small for the person you are becoming. Sometimes you think you lost the dream when actually you were being redirected toward something you could not have imagined. So do not bury your hope simply because one chapter hurt you. Hope again, but hope differently. Hope for peace. Hope for healthy love. Hope for emotional security. Hope for a future where you are not constantly afraid of being abandoned. Hope for mornings where you wake up excited instead of anxious. Hope for a life that does not require you to constantly wonder whether you are enough. My beloved child, there is still so much ahead of you. You cannot see it from where you are standing, and that is why the current pain feels so permanent. Pain makes the present look like the future. But it is not. Your current situation is a snapshot, not the entire story. The feelings you have today can change. The circumstances around you can change. People can change. Opportunities can appear. New relationships can enter your life. And you and change. In fact, you already are. The person who cried last night is learning something important. Never again will you abandon yourself just to keep someone else. Never again will you confuse waiting with loving. Never again will you believe that someone's rejection is proof that you are unworthy. Never again will you beg for the bare minimum from someone who claims to care. You are learning. And sometimes growth feels like grief because you are saying goodbye to an old version of yourself. But that goodbye is necessary. My child, there may also be a surprise waiting for you in the days ahead. Something may become clear that has been confusing you for a long time. A conversation may happen. A truth may come out. Someone may finally explain why they behaved the way they did. Or you may discover something about yourself that changes the way you see the entire situation. Do not be afraid of truth. Even when truth hurts, it eventually creates freedom. You have been living in uncertainty, and uncertainty has been exhausting you. Clarity may sting for a moment, but it allows you to move forward. So, when the truth comes, do not run from it. Receive it. Learn from it. Then decide what deserves access to your future. And if the truth reveals that someone truly wants you, do not settle for words alone. Let them prove it over time. Let consistency become the language of their love. My beloved child, I know you want everything to happen quickly. You want the message now. You want the apology now. You want the reunion now. You want the answer now. But timing matters. Sometimes receiving something before you are emotionally ready can create another cycle of pain. I am not delaying everything to punish you. Sometimes I am preparing you so that when the door opens, you will know how to walk through it without losing yourself. You are becoming someone who can receive love without becoming dependent on it. Someone who can be close without being afraid. Someone who can trust without ignoring red flags. Someone who can forgive without forgetting the lessons. This is the healing you cannot see yet. And one day, you may thank yourself for not sending that message. You may thank yourself for walking away from that argument. You may thank yourself for choosing sleep instead of checking their social media at 3 in the morning. You may thank yourself for letting silence remain silence instead of desperately filling it. Those small decisions are rebuilding your dignity one piece at a time. My child, if you cried yourself to sleep last night, I want you to do something different tonight. Before you close your eyes, do not replay everything that went wrong. Instead, name 3 things you survived. Name 1 thing you are grateful for. Then tell yourself, tomorrow does not have to look like today. Because it doesn't. Tomorrow can be different. Tomorrow can bring a message. A new opportunity, a moment of peace, or simply another day of healing. Do not underestimate the miracle of waking up and trying again. That is courage. That is resilience. That is you refusing to let pain write the ending of your story. And my beloved child, there is one final truth I want you to carry with you. You were never difficult to love simply because someone struggled to love you correctly. You were never too much because someone could not handle your depth. You were never unworthy because someone chose distance. You were never forgotten because someone became silent. Your worth existed before they entered your life, and it will exist after they leave it. Do not hand another person the authority to define what you are worth. That belongs to you and to the God who created you. So tonight, if your heart becomes heavy again, put the phone down. Close your eyes. Take a slow breath. And remind yourself that you have survived every painful night before this one. You will survive this one too. The tears will eventually stop. The questions will eventually become answers. The confusion will eventually become clarity. And the chapter that once felt like the end may eventually become the chapter that prepared you for your greatest beginning. My beloved child, you are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are still becoming. Keep walking. Keep healing. Keep believing that your life can become beautiful again. And when the right moment arrives, you will look back at the night you cried yourself to sleep and realize that something was changing even then. You just couldn't see it yet.